Okay, so today what we will do is that we'll start with filter and then we'll go to lookup and then maybe something else. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a new mapping.
Sorry?
I'm going to create a new mapping like how we always do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I need the my last time.
So m_005 underscore.
Okay, one second. I need the meeting ID. I haven't saved that.
Do you have it? The meeting ID? Can you give it to her? So m_005.
Four zero 50 99 397. Yeah, just a second. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have database today.
What happened?
My husband is trying to clean up the Informatica database and put it in
Okay.
why it says waiting for organizer? So it's
Okay.
finished it.
Yeah. Not a problem. So maybe you can take a look at what I'm doing.
That's why that's it. Yeah, one second, but it says waiting for organizer. Is it? Yeah. You did sign up.
Yeah, I'm in. Any questions from last time before we get into the other transforms? You got a chance to practice. When is spring break ending? When does spring break end?
Yes,
So it ended?
last week, Saturday.
Okay.
So I have kids have some activities.
Okay.
They have some presentation yesterday.
Okay. So you're busy with all that, huh? Okay, never mind.
From Monday.
Yeah, so what I'm going to be doing.
My database, that's all.
Yeah. So what I'm going to be doing is that, in order to, encourage you all to practice, what I'm going to be doing today and every day from now onwards is that I'm going to be sending an assignment out after every class. Okay, and what I would expect is that assignment should be complete before you come back. The assignment is going to be a mix of Informatica plus SQL. Okay, and it will be quite a bit, but nothing that cannot be done. Okay, and as we go forward, it will become increasingly complex because the assignment will contain all the what is known as transforms that we have done so far. Okay, so when I send you the assignment today, in all probability it will contain joiner, lookup, filter, and source, of course, and all those things. So you would have to actually do it, build it, and then I would come and try to see it. So one of the assignments I want to at least for Sweetie, because I think you would have already done it, those SQL chapters, the first 4, right? You may want to solve all the unsolved examples on the back of this thing. Okay. Tomorrow is. I muted everybody. What happened?
It's from my side. That's why I.
No, I should be able to mute you. Okay, so let's start with the what is known as filter. So filter is nothing else but the where clause. Okay, so we have a filter. We write the where clause in what is known as we write the where clause in SQL, right? So the where clause in SQL is nothing else but the filter. And what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to take a joiner transform. So my goal is to kind of include everything. So I will write JNR underscore DPT underscore EMP. Sorry, I hit cancel. Sorry, create. I'm going to do JNR underscore EMP underscore DEPT. So the way every time I do a transform, I'm using all the older transforms, right? When you practice, you also should do the same thing. Okay? Why? Because each time you do this, the next time it will become simpler. It will become second nature to you, right? So with every passing, the mapping will become bigger, not necessarily complex, bigger, but every time you keep doing the same thing, it will become easier for you to do. So I do create, I do OK, done. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to link this to this. Only source arrows can end in source qualifier. Okay, this was a mistake. See what I did. I made a mistake. Can you see it is written source qualifier over here, alright? So what I did is that I used the wrong transform. I should actually gone here, I would have done create and I should have selected joiner here. And I should have written JNR underscore DEPT underscore EMP. Now you see it is written under here joiner. So now we have the right, we have the right what is known as transform. So now I have a joiner. What do I need to do in the joiner? I always have to set the condition of the join. And in this case, what will be the join be? Who can tell me? Between department and this? It will be department ID 1 in this case because they are same. And I have the joiner condition. Okay. Now the next thing I need to do is that I need to use an expression. I do create, I done. And what I do is that I take all these things and I put it inside this. Okay. And then I will add the logic later. That is required here. Let me go to the target. And I'm going to pull the TGT underscore employees here. And the first thing, and what we are learning today is the filter. So I go to transform, I do create, I write this thing, I write FIL underscore, okay, DEPT. It's just a name that I've given, right? It can be anything. So what I'm doing, I'm creating a filter. So now what we have a filter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to link this into this, and I'm going to link this. I'm going to link, okay. Do auto link. I'm going to take filter and I'm going to join it to the target. Okay, so let us just simply go through what we did. We pulled the source, we went to the joiner, okay, we had an expression like how we always had, but the new thing I added was filter. Okay, and what did I say the filter was? The filter is nothing else but the where clause. Like how in SQL you have where this is equal to this, where this is equal to that. This is the where clause. Okay, so by default the condition here is true. So in SQL what did we say? When the condition is true, all the rows will pass. So if I write a filter and I write simply true, what it will do? All the rows passing into the filter, it will let it pass out. That is what true means. If I write false, what will happen? What won't go? No rows will go forward. All rows will be filtered out. Okay, so true, all rows will go. False, no rows will go. But the reason that we want a filter is to do something in between, right? So let us say that we want only those people who belong to department ID 10. Okay, so over here what we will do is that we can select any column. We are allowed to select any column on which we want to apply the condition, the same way as we can write a where clause on any column in a select statement. But the difference between a where clause in a select statement is that you can write a join in a where clause of a select statement. Over here you cannot write a join. Over here you will just write simple conditions, where department equal to 20, where email equal to this, where first name equal to this, where first name like this, all those kind of things. Okay, so what we will do is that we will use to begin with department ID equal to 20 and C. So what here there is department ID and we say department ID equal to how much? 20. We do validate. It says expression passed correctly. So what does this mean? This means that when rows are flowing here into this filter, only those rows which have department ID 20 will be allowed to move into the target. You understand what I'm trying to say? I can also add another condition if I want, like how we would do in this thing. I could write or department ID equal to 30. So what does this mean? It will let department ID 20 be carried to the target, or even if it is department 30 also it can go into the target. So like how we write in the SQL, we write the or, we write the and all those conditions, everything can be done over here also, right? But what we cannot do is we cannot write joins. What we cannot do, we cannot write joins, right? To write joins we have to actually go into the joiner. Okay, so now look at it this way. In the SQL write inside the joiner, when I wrote the SQL override, I could have even added this condition. I wrote the join employee.department ID is equal to department.department ID. Okay, I could have also written and department ID equal to 10. So in that joiner transformation where I had written that query, okay, what I could have done is that I could have gone and I could have added this condition. So let me just show it to you. Right, now this has an override query over here. Let's look at this. What does this have? This has an override query. Okay, what I could have simply done is that I could have added another condition here and department ID equal to 20. By doing that, what I would have done is that I could have simply avoided the filter. Right, what if I had written the condition directly in the SQL override, what I could have done, I could have simply avoided the filter. Why? Because the filtering condition is there in the override itself. Are you guys with me?
This filter, when we are writing this thing and the SQL override, we are not doing the filter there.
That is right. There is no need to do it because that functionality has already been achieved here.
So when this one run, like after the expression?
No, this query so it goes in sequential order.
Yeah, it comes first, right?
That is right. That is right. So in this particular case, what will happen is that at the source itself, it will fill. That is right. It will select only 20. Why? Because somewhere down the line, I know that I was going to apply this filter to eliminate everything else. So what I can do, I can upfront do this. So instead of pulling extra rows like 10, 20, 30, 40 into the Informatica server and then putting a filter to filter it out, what I can do is that I can just prevent it from coming into the Informatica server.
You are getting only from department 20 data only. So
that is right. So in the beginning itself, I am applying a filter and getting rid. So this is one advantage of SQL override. So SQL override, that is that you can, it is versatile, right? Now I combined a join and a filter. So now I don't really need a filter down the line. Okay. But let us say that you are reading a flat file. Okay, I will show you how to read flat files later. But let us say that if you are reading a flat file, there is no option for a SQL override. You understand what I am trying to say? There is no option for a SQL override. Why? Because you cannot write SQL on flat files. So what you would do in that event, you would be forced to use a filter transform. Are you guys with me? Okay. So if I had a file called departments and if I had a file called employees and I read them, there could be no SQL override. I would have to use the joiner transform, join it, then move it forward and then use a filter transform to filter the data out and then write it out to whichever table or this thing. So this happens a lot. When companies exchange data, the data comes in files, right? So when the data comes in files, what happens is that people cannot use, they have to use filter and joiner. Okay. we have to use filter and joiner. So any questions on this? So what I'm doing here is that I'm using this, okay, an OR condition. I can do this also, right? I can do in also. I can do not in. So most of the things that work in SQL will work here too. Most of the things that will work in SQL will work. When I say most of the, not everything works. Some things don't work. Okay, some functions are different, but 95% will match with SQL. Okay, so if I was the developer and if somebody told me to make this mapping, what I would have done, if I'm reading from two tables that are, I would have simply written an SQL override and written where department ID in 10,20. That way I could have skipped the filter. Okay, but if it was a flat file, that was not possible. Okay, so I can take any this thing. I can say email like. Okay, so I think like doesn't work here. Let us look at function.
Like doesn't work here?
Let's see. It has to be present here.
Different, right? No. It's not
LMNO PQRS. There is no like here.
So what can we use in like this? We don't need that much, right?
So one of the things that I have used is something like SoundX. That is one thing I have used.
Same thing like
No, it is not same thing like, but it is. It uses the name of what is known as like anything that like SoundX means the sound of something. So if I say SoundX Sujit, everything that is like Sujit, SUJIT, SUJITH, everything around that it would show up. So you see, this would be one limitation of Informatica. Now if you cannot use like, what you would want to do, you would want to go and what is known as write an SQL override. You would want to write a like statement because now you cannot write a like statement. So there is a way to overcome that. So the way to overcome that is that you can use the instring function. You know that we had studied a function called instring, which is used to look for an occurrence of something inside a string. Do you remember what instring did? Is that if there is a string, we can use that instring to determine if a given character is present or not. So you could use an instring to try and find that. So there is also another way to do it. There is a replace function. Let me. Yeah, replace character and replace string. I'll explain this with the help of an example. Replace later. But what I'm basically trying to say is that you see now this like is an example wherein that functionality is not available in Informatica, but the functionality is available in the database. So what you would do now, you would naturally move towards the database. Why? Because now you have that functionality available there. So this would be a typical example. Okay. So the question is that why would Informatica not have something like, right? That is a question that would come into our mind. So the reason that they don't use certain functions is for performance reason, right? A like is like a wildcard character search. So what it is going to do is that when you put a like, it is going to slow everything down. Yes or no? Right? Because now why it is not an exact match, it is a pattern matching. So any pattern matching process will take more time. Now inside the database, the pattern matching tends to be better. Why? Because the data lies inside the database where you are trying to do the pattern matching. But in Informatica, the data is just flowing through when you are trying to do a pattern matching. So the effect on that is much higher, slowing it down. Okay. So Generally, the reason to not have a function that is available in the database in an ETL tool primarily is to prevent degradation of performance, right? So if you started using like and now a mapping starts running for 5 or 6 hours, you will say this Informatica is a lousy tool. So they don't want that to happen. So for that reason, some functions like it will not work in Informatica. Okay, so let's take something else. I can say employee ID equal to 100. So now what will happen? Only employee ID 100 will go to the target table. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to go ahead and create a workflow for this. So how do I create it? I go to workflow. I go to workflow and let me get rid of all this. I go to tasks, task, create, and what I need here is the name of the mapping. I do edit. I'll copy this. I will write s underscore and I will paste this, create, and this is my mapping. I have to select, right? So when you work, there will be like hundreds of mappings. I have done. Okay, now who is help me with this? Where do I have to go now to mappings? Next what? Okay. Okay, connections are already there. Target connections are already there. Okay, this is by default what is known as relational writer. Relational writer is always used when the database is a table. Okay, so that is why it is relational. So there is also what is known as file writer. This will come into place when we use a file.
Like in the platform?
Yeah.
It come automatically?
Yes, it will come automatically. Because it knows it is, when you do the source definition and the target definition, it knows that it is a file. So when you pull it into the mapping, it already knows that it is a file. Now there is nothing that stops me from changing this into a file. If you see here, so I have done it several times. So let us say that so I'll give you one scenario what happens many times. So there are indexes and constraints in the database. Okay, what these indexes and constraints do is that they prevent sometimes data from flowing in. So for example, there is a constraint which says unique employee ID unique. Right? What does it say? It says employee ID unique. Now when I am loading rows, the same employee ID 100 appears twice. So it goes and it gets rejected on the database. Right? So what will happen is that if I have made the right setting, this mapping is going to fail. Okay? Now I want to know what the guilty record is. I want to know what the problem record is. Okay? But because there is a constraint on the database, what is going to happen is that the job is never going to get completed. So what I would want to do in this scenario is that I would actually want to load this data into a file. Okay, and then what I would do is that I would actually sort the data by the employee ID and try and locate the duplicate records. So essentially what I have done is that by simply converting this relational writer to a file writer, the target definition, okay, the mapping will now write to a file. So the target definition, when you defined it, when you imported it, was a table, but for this mapping, what will happen? It will be a file. Okay, I'll just show you that, but first let me complete this. So this is a relational reader, this is a relational reader, this is a relational writer. I do apply, okay, Control S. There is a problem, okay, it says invalid, it says missing connection. So let's see.
Do we have task?
Oh, see, on here it is missing. The connection over here is missing. I did not select it, so I select HR and I do apply, I do OK, and I do Control S. What happened? Okay. I do validate, everything looks good. Let me go here. What I'm doing now, I'm creating a workflow. WF I do OK. Now what is required? What do I need to do? I need to pull this, and then I go to tasks, I do link, and then I connect this to this. I do repository and I do save. Okay. Now another thing that I'm going to do, so my recommendation is, if you're doing any property change, always do it in the session. See, now I'll show you, let me give you this example. Now I click this target. Okay, it is giving me a target truncate table option. Yes or no?
Yes.
If I go to the workflow, there also it will give me a target truncate target table option. Okay, now what happens is that because this option is present in both places, sometimes you will use session, sometimes you will use workflow. Okay, and you will get confused at times as to where you used it. So so for that reason, it is always best to just stick to one place. Now when you say target table workflow, one workflow can have several sessions. It can have 3-4 mappings, right? And each one will have targets. So when you do truncate in workflow, it is going to end up truncating all the tables. So let us say you had mapping 1, mapping 2, mapping 3, mapping 4, and they have their individual targets. If you would have set truncate target table option, okay, in the workflow, what will happen is that it can truncate targets in all the mappings. So what the best thing to do is to always stick to the session, right? Because then there will never be a confusion in your mind. Did I make a change here? Did I make a change there? So a lot of companies, what they do is that they enforce that. They say that you can only if you are doing changes, you can only do it at the session level. They will not let you make any change at the workflow level. Okay. So now let me do Control S. And I'm going to do workflow, and I'm going to do, okay, did I check the this thing? No, I did not. So I'm going to check this, apply OK. So what does this mean? This means that before it loads data into this, it is going to empty the table. Why? Because I selected the target table option. So let's now go to the employees, TGT employees table, and see how many rows are there. Select star from TGT underscore EMPLOYES. Okay, there are no rows. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to do start workflow. Now look at this. It read 27 rows from the departments, 27 from departments, 107 from employees. How many did it write to the target? 1. Why did it write only 1? Because in the filter we said employee ID equal to 100. So there is only one person with employee ID 100. So we have 1 row. So let's go and select this data. You see, only one guy is there. Okay, now let me make a change. Okay, you tell me, what filter should I put? Any suggestions? What filter should I put?
Like higher date.
Okay.
Particular higher date.
Yeah, the chance of getting that is very low. Can you go to the? Yeah, no, yeah, not. Yeah, okay. Let's make. You can do one thing. You can go into the table and give me one higher date which exists. Okay, so that I can put the higher date. Why didn't you do that? Just look for one date that exists in the employees table. and we will put that.
We can't do like in between or date.
In between means range? Yeah, we can do range also.
Oh, yeah. Date for
Yeah, we can do range. We can write greater than equal to. Give me a range then, not a problem.
like 100 months. So let's start from like this. Get the date. September 2003 to 17.
Okay, so the date you're giving me is 17
September 2003
September 2003
to 17 Feb 2004.
How much you said? How much you said in that?
In that one. Okay, 17 Feb 2004.
17 Feb 2004. So you see, this doesn't validate
Why?
because this data type is date and this is string. Very similar to what happens in Oracle. So what we will have to do, we will have to apply the toDate function here. You saw this? What it is? So is this any different from what we did in Oracle?
And
Yeah.
we put the what do you call DDMM, MO and YY with that. Normally we don't put in Oracle.
We do.
Just once, not
No, we put. So what I have done here is exactly what we do in Oracle. Right? What I have done is exactly what we do in Oracle. We write the toDate and then we write the format.
But we don't write DDMO and YYY.
So what do we write then?
It's already by default it is there, so we don't write anything. We just
Only if it is a column. If we write a string, then we do. I don't know if you remember, we had this discussion over the dates. I was trying to explain as to when it is a column, there is no need to write a conversion function to tell that it is a date. But if it is a string, if it is in quotes, Oracle or Informatica does not know that it is a date. So you have to apply the toDate function to make it aware that it is a date. So that is what we have done. We said higher date greater than. We just cannot simply write the string because the string would become character. So we wrote toDate and then we gave the format of that date, which in the database is DD, MON, YY. So or 4 times Y also you can give because it will pull the century from it. Same here. So this is the reason why it is now validating. So Sweetie, can you tell me by writing a query on the database how many rows are there between these two, inclusive of these two dates? So when I run the mapping, it should match that. Are you asking for the date range?
Yeah, we got it.
So the date range that I was given was,
If it is in the same way, like date 17 dash September dash 2004, same like as we have in database, so we don't have to put it.
we have to, because it is in quotes.
We can put in the quotes and
Even then you have to, because it doesn't understand, because it is in quotes, it thinks it is a character literal.
sometimes we do it in what case without writing
Only if a column is being used from the database. If let us say that instead of using 17 September 2003, I use a column from the database, which is of the date data type.
column, or when we are select 2K.
Yeah, meaning let us say that I am doing higher date greater than, and then I write some other column like select what is known as minimum date or some, of from some other. If I'm selecting another column which is also a date, then only then I don't have to write the toDate function. If
because it can understand the
because it knows it is a date. Because the structure in the database is date, so it knows that this is date. So you don't. But here, what it is simply in quotes. Instead of this date, it could have been ABCD also. So it doesn't know that this is actually a date. So that is why we have to tell it to date, the string, and then we write the format. Okay, so let's look at my monitor and see how many are there. So you know what, we match 6. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to the database and I'm going to select this, and you see we have 6 rows inside here, which is what we were looking for. Okay, so this is how we use the filter to decide what rows to take forward or what not to move forward. Okay. Any questions on this? So this was a simple one, right? So what we are going to do next is that we are going to do what is known as the router. Okay, the router is very close to filter. So a router can be thought of as an advanced filter. What is a router? A router is an advanced filter. So ideally you wouldn't use a router and a filter in the same transform. Why? Because if you have a router, ideally you will not need a filter. Okay. So now let us say that over here, let us say that we had a condition where department ID equal to 80. Okay. So let me give you a scenario that happens in real life before I go to this. Okay, data is flowing in from what is known as several sources. Okay, and my company operates in all 50 states of the United States, and what I want to do is that sales information that is coming, I want them stored in separate tables. What do I want to do? I want to store them in separate tables. So for 1 second, let us assume that I operate in 3 states. Okay, Michigan, Illinois, and Wisconsin. These are the 3 states that I operate in. And the data that is coming from the source contains data for all these 3 states. But for analysis, what I want to do is that I want to store Wisconsin data in a Wisconsin table, Michigan data in a Michigan table, and the Illinois data in a Illinois table. Are we clear so far? So what I could have done is I could have created one mapping which would have filtered out the Michigan and Wisconsin data with the help of this filter, right? I could have written a filter where I could have written state is equal to Illinois. Then what would have happened is that only Illinois data would have moved forward in this, and Illinois data would have gone to the target. Yes or no? Then I would have to create another mapping in which I would write a filter in which I would write Michigan, and then Michigan data would flow to the target in another mapping, in another table. Similarly, I would write WI and I would do that for Wisconsin. Now if I had 50 states, I would have to make 50 mappings, right? Each one pulling data for one state. Now that is terribly inefficient. So I have to have a way in which, based on a condition, I can within one mapping pass data to different targets. Okay, so that is what a router is all about. So what a router does is that it routes data. That means Michigan data, it will go into the Michigan table, it will route the Illinois data into the Illinois table, and it will route the Wisconsin data into the Wisconsin table. And then there is a default something where the rest of the data will go. Okay, so let me show you that. Are you guys, did you get the high level understanding of what a router is? So Sweetie, can you explain what a router is?
Basically, for example, if we select 3 airports,
Yeah.
let's say Detroit, Flint Airport, and Michigan Airport. Instead of which I don't know.
Yeah, JFK.
Okay, JFK. Yeah. And if we want to pull the JFK people, JFK Airport, first it will come, and then if we put the Detroit Airport, then Detroit comes, and then the Flint.
That's right. So that's excellent. So what we will do is that, so I will leave this mapping as is, okay, like always, and I will go ahead and I will create a new mapping that is m underscore, what is the new number that I have to use? M underscore 006. So the reason I'm writing numbers, and you should also do, is that it will give you the chronological order in which we were moving. So you will know that we did the 5 one before the 6. Okay. So what I finally intend to do is that I finally intend to export all these and make it available to you. So you can import it into one of your folders and reference it whenever you want to.
How much did you record?
Which one?
I got mail from you.
Yeah.
Friday, right?
Yeah.
So it's like 5 minutes, 6 minutes.
There are two. One is for 5 minutes, and then what happened is that we had that problem with the recording. I exited from the meeting. So the second piece is the main one which contains the rest. So there are two pieces. So I have written day 2A and day 2B.
Still now, how many videos did you say?
Uh,
Only one class?
no, so
First class we missed, I think, right?
that is right. The first class video I don't have.
We did record on Sunday.
Yeah. So the one that you saw, that is day 2.
Tuesdays.
That is day 2. Then the day 3 I have already with me, so that I can upload. Okay, so what are we trying to do? We are trying to do router. Okay. Router underscore src underscore dgt. So what I'm going to do now? What am I going to create?
Also, we're gonna create joiner and then
Yeah, meaning I'm going to use all the transforms. So joiner, dpd, and
if it's 2 date, I mean, if we are doing according to the higher date, right? That's what we are.
in this example for the router I will use the department.
So if why we are using joiner, we can't use expression.
No, meaning so joiner is always for join.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm just using the joiner because as I move forward, I want to use all the transformations we have already used. Okay, with the goal that at the end you will be able to see a mapping that uses all the transforms.
Okay.
Meaning we are trying to grow with it.
Okay.
So when you work and when you are practicing filter, you should use every transform that you have studied till then to do that.
Okay.
Meaning maybe initially no, but if you do that, every mapping you build, you will get exposure to every transform again and again, which is what the goal is, right?
Yeah.
That the more exposure you get, the faster you will become. Okay, now what do I need to do next? I need to pull the target. Okay, so what we have to do now is that we are going to use a router, and our condition is basically going to be department ID. Okay, so who can tell me how many distinct department IDs are there in the employees table? Can somebody go and select and tell me? Sweetie. Isn't Informatica easier than SQL? It is, but you just have to keep practicing. Well, distinct.
One null. No, so 11.
Okay, so this is an employees table, right?
Yeah, we have to go to department table, right?
No, don't go to department table. See, we are reading data from the employees and department, right? So we are doing an equi join. So This information is from the employees table, right?
Yeah.
So how many we have? We have distinct 11, right?
We have total 12, but one is null.
Okay, can you give me the count of records in department 10 and 20? Prasanna, don't tell her. Let her do it on her own. Group functions. Don't count it, huh? You have to use a count star and do it.
What was the question? How many?
How many people in department 10 and 20?
You have to count
Like
columns. Count columns.
Not columns, you have to count rows.
Count rows.
Yeah, 3.
3 people in 10. And how many people in 20?
Oh, total 3. And in 1 in 10 and 2 in 20.
Okay, what about in the others?
I only selected 10 and 20.
Select everything. Don't put any condition to filter for. You can write a group condition which will give you everything. Right.
I don't know.
Think.
We need to know how many people working in
That is right. So
every particular department.
that is right. So 10 will have 5 people, 20 will have 7 people, 30 will have this people. So you need to write one query which will select data for everybody. It basically uses the group function.
What?
Count. Count.
Okay, I'll give you a hint.
She has given me the.
Okay.
Still I don't.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. So you have to use the count star
That's what she said.
and the group by department.
Only this. You don't have to do anything. Only this. But
Okay, I'll give you the query, right?
Yeah.
Select count star, right? Select count star, comma.
One second.
department underscore ID.
within bracket. Star.
Yeah, 1 second. Starting on underscore. Star of the answer. Yeah, that I remember. That's it. I think it will run. You have to be calm.
Nothing will say.
Yeah, I know. I know that. You didn't say query to complete. You didn't complete it.
Okay, what did I say? I said
Yeah, select count, star, employee, department ID.
comma department ID from employees. Group by department ID.
Star will come.
Yeah. I'm scared it's mine.
The star will come after count. And then count.
In office, in so much time, but I finished making one mapping and loading on table.
Don't forget that.
Close the bracket. Close the bracket.
Remove the bracket or
No,
close
no.
it?
Put up. Yeah.
Why can't you hire her?
To do what?
How do you want to hire?
Oh my god!
How to work 15 hours a day?
Oh, star in the bracket, you didn't say that.
That's what I'm saying. Starting.
You're seeing all stars.
She's just saying star, star, star.
Yeah, it is
Star in
always.
the bracket.
Yeah, it is always somebody else's fault. Okay. 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 So give me order this.
You still want something?
Yeah, order this by the count so that the highest
Order by count.
order by one, right? Order by one descending. Right, order by one descending.
Order by department ID.
No
Now
department
only
ID.
department ID will be selected one.
Yeah, but you have count star, right? You have count star, right? You have to write one.
Numeric.
Yeah.
What was the question?
The question is that I wanted you to order the data so that I can see the department with the highest number of employees on the top.
Oh, highest number of employees.
What is that?
So 50,
And after that?
60, 80, sorry.
50 and then 80, right?
Yeah.
So what we are going to do now is that I'm going to create a table, two tables. One table for 50 and one table for 80. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that create table. You can also do this. EMP 50 as select star from TGD underscore EM PLOY Yes, where 1 equal to 2.
Is where department.
So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to go into the target and I'm going to import these. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to import these.
Did you ask to?
He's doing it. I'm just doing with him.
Yeah, so what I said is that we are trying to learn the functionality of the router.
Yeah.
Right? For that what we need is that we need two tables. One table with 50 and one table 80. So create a table called EMP50, one table EMP80. The 50 will basically take all records from department 50. 80 will take all records from department 80. And then we will create one table called EMP rest or EMP, which will take everything else.
So did you create the table?
Do we have to create the table? I could have.
Of course. Otherwise, where will the data go?
You don't have to select like she don't have to put where condition will create table, right? Where you got.
Meaning, we don't want any rows in the table.
Yeah, so you can get like a create table, table name, start from.
As selects
start from.
table. So all the rows on that table will show up here.
No, if you don't have to put where condition.
No, we have to put a where condition.
Where condition.
So the reason if we don't put a where condition, what will happen is that all rows from that select will actually go into this table. So if I write create table EMP underscore 50 as select star from TGT underscore employees, all the rows that are there in the TGT underscore employees will get populated in EMP underscore 50.
But we are trying to in the structure.
That is right. So in order to ensure that we get only the structure, after that select we write where 1 equal to 2. So 1 equal to 2 is never going to be true.
Yeah, but in this query she wrote where employer ID equal to 50. That's what I mean.
No, you are not trying to pre-populate the table. See, you should have written, yeah, but you should not write that because our goal is not to populate the table using a query. It is to populate using Informatica. So we need the table to be empty. When you create the structure, we need the table to be empty. So how would you make it empty? By writing a condition which is always false. So in the end I would write where 1 equal to 2. Now 1 can never be equal to 2. It is not possible. So what will happen is that the structure alone will get created without any rows. Okay. So over there write from employees where 1 equal to 2.
Next we have to what is other table?
80.
80. Three tables for the group.
And then you have to create EMP underscore all.
Just change here.
And the third one?
EMP underscore all. Oh, EMP underscore rest, yeah. That.
Okay, then.
Then you watch me. Okay, so now what we have to do is that we will now import these targets into Informatica. Okay, so let's go. Sweetie, if you want, you can go ahead and import them. So what I'm going to show you is that I can import more than one target at a time, right? So EMP50, I press shift EMP.
Then I importing target or in sources? In target, right?
Yeah, target. Why would we do source? We wouldn't.
You can import 3 tables at a time?
Yeah. So look at this. I do EMP50, I press control EMP80 and EMP rest. Okay. Now let us say I want to select everything from between countries and job history. Then I will press control. Sorry, I click here. Okay. So if I want to select everything between countries and location, let us say everything between countries and location, I will press countries, then I will press shift and then I'll hit location. Everything will get selected. If I want to select individually, then I will use control. Okay. So what I have done, I have individually selected 3. I do OK. Control S. So now what do I have? I have 3 target definitions. I'm going to delete this. I actually don't need this. Now let's go and create a router. Are you guys looking?
Are you creating?
Okay, just look at this. You can continue doing that later. So what I did is that I created a router here. You can see there is a router here. Okay. See the router. Yeah, use the spotlight. You can see there is a router here.
Yeah. Is that for me or
No, it is for myself. I am just trying to learn this.
Obviously, it's for me.
Okay. Now, so let's look at the similarity between that and this. In a router, we have to add what is known as a group. What do we do? In router, we add what is known as a group. Now, what is a group? A group is a filter condition. Okay. What is a group? A group is basically nothing else but a filter condition. Now, what is a requirement? We have a department 80 table, we have a department 50 table, and we have a department rest, right? We want all rows from department 80 to go into the department 80 table. We want EMP 80 table. We want all rows from EMP 50 to go to EMP 50 table, and we want the rest of the rows to go into EMP rest table, right? So a group is nothing else but one filter condition. So one group will say EMP will say department ID equal to 80. One will say department ID equal to 50. And by what will happen is that there is a default group that is created. That all the other rows will automatically go into the default group. Okay, so I'll show you here. This is where I will click to create the group. Okay, by default the name came as new group. I'm going to give it a descriptive name. So I will say I will call this, let us say EMP50. I can give it whatever name I want. But over here you see the condition is true, like how we had in the filter. Basically what would happen is that if I write true, all rows would pass through this group, but that is not what I want. I will go into ports and then I will go to department ID and then I will make this equal to 50. So what does EMP50 mean? EMP50 is basically nothing else but a group which is nothing else but a filter condition which will let only rows belonging to 50 pass through it. Okay, so let's look at the output here. Let's look at this structure here. You see, this is the input, that is the row going in. What is this? This is EMP50. So rows that will go between this and this from here outside will contain only department 50 data. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to pull a target called EMP50. I'm going to auto link. I'm going to select the router, and from the router I'm going to go to EMP50. Okay, in this it is giving me two options. Okay, so I selected EMP50 and I did apply. It did not work. You know why? Because this group has 1 at the end, whereas this does not have. Auto link more from transformation 1. Do you know why the auto link was not working?
Did you do filter condition?
No, because the router is like a filter. I cannot use router and filter in the same. A router is also a kind of a filter. So for that reason, we cannot use both in the same. Meaning we can use, but it is not logical. So once bonus and all that is not there. Manager ID. Okay, manager ID, department ID. Full name and bonus is not there. Okay, so what we have done here is that we created a group called 50. And what does this group do? This group basically has a condition where department ID equal to 50, and the rows that go in from here into this is basically going to contain only employees from department 50. Okay, now if you see, there is something what is known as a default here. You can see this default here. So what this default basically is that everything that is not 50,
or 80.
I haven't created the 80 group. See, I haven't created the 80 group yet. Right? So in this particular case, everything that is not department 50 will pass through this. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create another group. What will that group be? That will be the 80 group. And what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to do ports, and I'm going to do department ID equal to 80. Do validate. Okay. So you see here there is a new group that is created, and what will I do? I will connect. I will import the other target. I will import the other target. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to join this with this. What is this? This is department 80, and this is what my target table for 80. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to link this now. I am going to do right click, auto link. Okay. Inside the router, I selected the group EMP80. Okay, and now what I have to do is that I have to join it to the target EMP80. But if you see here, what happens is that, see, because it is a different group, it is adding this 333 at the end. So what I'll do more, and I will write suffix. What is the suffix? It is 3, and then I'll do apply. Okay. So what it did is that it went and it joined. Now let's look at commission percentage, manager ID, and what else is there? Location ID. Location ID is not there in this. Is there a department name? This is the department name. I connected the department name also. Sorry. Okay, department ID. Where is department ID? Okay. I have department ID. So in this case, what I did, all the rows that satisfy the condition of the group being equal to 80 will go into this. And then finally, we will take EMP rest. This is the maximum I can pull it. Auto link, router, and inside router I want default, and I want it to link to rest. I do more. Here there is a suffix of 2, so I'm going to put 2 and okay. Department. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that, what is this? Manager ID. Manager ID, I will link manager ID. Manager ID. Department ID. Where is department ID? Department ID to department ID. These two I don't have anyway. So now I'll do Control S. So it says it is invalid. Let us see. So I forgot to put the join condition inside the joiner. That is why when I validated it, it said, okay, now I can do right click and I can do something what is known as iconize. Select all and then iconize.
What is that, sir?
Okay, so now what happens is that select all. So this is how the mapping looks, right? So what happens is that now the mapping is very big. So you cannot see the whole thing. So what you can do is that you can reduce the size, you can minimize this by clicking this button. You can see you can minimize this by clicking this button. So I can, instead of doing every one individually, I can right click, do select all, and then I can do iconize. So when I say iconize, what it does is that it reduces the size of everything to smaller. So what I can do here is that I can reduce this like 70% and I can see what it does. I can make it 100 also now. So it will simply show me in a smaller way what it does. So what do you have here? You have what I have done is that I have iconized the mapping. Okay, so I'll now restore the whole thing. Select all. Okay, so what we are going to do now is that we are going to run this mapping, and when we run this mapping, what's going to happen is that data is going to get loaded into 50, into 80, and into rest. Okay, so Control S. So any doubt on this router, how the router works? Any confusion in this? Okay, so sweetie, how many rows in 80? Tell me 80, 50, and tell me the rest. Just make a note of it, because we have to see if what you come up with and what I come up with, they match. Do the grouping, yeah, so that we need the rest also, right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm
Not in.
Yeah, we can do not in also. That's right, you can do that.
okay.
What is the count?
In department 50, 45,
Okay,
in 80, 34,
okay,
and the rest 27.
okay. Can you take a look at my screen and verify if I have also got that?
Hmm.
Okay, so let's go into the database and let us select data from these tables. So you see now we have a count. Okay, 27 rows. So we are seeing that rows are there. This is 80. Why are there no rows in EMP80? Oh, there's a problem. "27 rows went here, right?" Okay, so 34 and 45 should have been there, right? EMP50 should have had 45 rows.
No, because where he told me how to adjust. Isn't it department from department?
Already same workflow, why it's same like that?
What?
Department 50 has 45 rows. Success, saving success, right?
This one here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is showing that it is actually writing. Even if I look at the log,
Yeah.
if I get the session log, if you look at the log, it basically says, that it is inserting into 50 and it is inserting into this, but it is not putting any rows there. I don't know why.
When we do merge, insert, do we do merge, insert in this router?
No, this is not like merge.
But isn't it like we go left start from employee 15? Should be department 15. You know, if employee 15 to the department 15, to the department 15.
This, this one, this one.
Very nice.
Okay, so we know that rows are getting to the router. They are not going to 50, they are not going to 80, and the rest are actually going to this. So if I look at the underscore rest table, how many rows do I have here? I have 27, which is what is shown in the monitor, but this is showing 34 and 45. That is not
Did
going.
we miss anything?
Hmm?
Did we miss anything, like do we reply to anything? Do we
Mm,
not write anything?
no, there's nothing. We just have to make sure that the filter condition matches. Department ID equal to 50. Let me go into the table. Maybe you know what, my table may not have it. Ah,
We don't have 15. We don't have any rows related to 15, maybe.
it seems that way. But then why is it showing 45 and this thing, right?
But,
45 and 34 is there, right? So I have to actually find out why this is not working. Okay, so let me look at the data type of the employees table. Department ID is a number, MP8 is a number, so what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to come here and I'm going to delete one of these two groups. Okay, so now I have 50 and I have rest. So let's see what happens when I do this. Control S, validate. Let me go workflow, validate, workflow, start workflow. I'm going to restart my Informatica. Okay. I think there is a problem in the connection. Sweetie, meanwhile, can you go ahead and try to do it on your machine? Let's see if it works there. So what I'll do now is that I'll try to restart Informatica.
No, but if you do it, then I won't be able to. Oh, we can do it like that? Do it. Doesn't know, I know. That is a big problem. If it's simple, then it's a lot easier. You have to connect, right? No, click. It's a source. Then. Just put it. No, wait. 1 second, 1 second. Then we have to connect qualifier, it is source qualifier to the router.
What is the current is?
Why did you delete that?
What is the current is?
I didn't connect that. Did you click on that? Yeah, no, not from the back end. You have to click on the blank space and then click on the yellow. This is naturally myself.
Now we
But first we have to connect with the router, right? Okay, first we need joiner and then router.
joiner.
Publish. Click it. Click it last one. Click last one. Then comes up. No. Click it last one. Okay, and then now select one more. Now that's it. Never mind, drag the department. Condition, we need to go condition. Employee 50. Department ID 50, right?
No, this because of the joiner condition. For both things, there is a relation, right?
What condition?
Main department ID equal to
That will be here, that will be here.
department ID, master table department ID equal to detail table department ID.
But where will we write that condition?
Here,
Okay, right click it and
it's already there.
when is equal to is equal to okay.
This is it.
No cut. Okay. So,
Then,
so now it will link it itself.
so, next will be the section.
Okay. E. Actually, I don't use it, but since we use that journal like that, I don't know. While we are creating mapping, we just need to create the transformation. Whole transformation. We have to do it all now again. Okay, I'm added to router. I'm the router, so that when I go, I know. Click it so that because no, it's dash. See, now it's good. It's not cold. Yeah, that's not it. You just put one after.
What is the didn't say it, right?
Click on the
Before one.
Just go to the transformation. Why do you want to? And please, should we just save and something?
Just now it's
Because I don't want to. I don't want to add in the No, always
select one.
you have to do shift. How come it does it like so? Yeah. Click it and then.
I already did it.
Okay, what should we? I don't.
You have to click it there and click it.
Okay, click.
just trying to drag.
Drag everything in router.
Yeah. Then talking to this is how to do it. Groups, okay. You have to do a group condition, right? Here, in the group, the router,
Pardon?
we have to do a group condition. Group EMP.
Yeah. Just cancel one second. If you hit the group, yeah, that is right. That is where you give the condition. It would have been true initially.
Then
Yeah.
employer ID, like
No, what is our condition? We have three conditions, right? We are looking for department
debate department ID
equal to yeah.
department ID. First EMP.
Yes, fine. But we have to connect only 51, right? Yeah, in 50 there. Yeah.
Now we are missing something. We didn't do columns. So we do.
I created and then it stays there. And then we go down. Like I did, we don't have here. It won't be there. We have manager ID in this. We have to do that.
Which table did you? This is a blood table, right?
This you are asking, right? That I don't know when I created first time that expression transformation, and that I use it and I was.
So what I want to briefly talk about is active and passive transforms. Okay. So we have to understand what an active and what a passive transform is. It's a question that is asked in interviews, and also it is important to know. So a passive transform is a transform in which when you send rows through it, okay, the number of rows entering the transform and the number of rows coming out of the transform does not change. Okay, So if you have an expression and if you pass 100 rows through that expression, 100 rows will come from the output of the expression, right? So expression is a passive transform. But if you have a filter, okay, and if you pass 100 rows through the filter, because there is a filtering condition, what it will do, it will remove some rows and throw it out. So 100 rows may enter the filter, but only 25 rows may come out, right? So the number of rows entering the filter can be different from the number of rows coming out of the filter. So for that reason, it is called an active transform, the filter, because it is capable of changing the number of rows coming out of the transform. You understanding what I'm trying to say? So a passive transform is what is, sweetie? What is a passive transform? Yeah.
It doesn't change the rows.
What do you mean by doesn't change the rows? You just took one word I said and
Basically, expression is a passive transform.
why?
Because I don't know.
Yeah, Prasanna. Can you help, sweetie?
If the all rows comes and go out.
Yeah. If all rows entering a transform go out of the transform, it is passive.
Yes.
Why? Because it is not changing the number of rows.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you go through a router or a filter,
If it's changed, then it's active.
That is right.
If it doesn't, then it's passive.
so is joiner an active or a passive transform?
Joiner is active. It changes the rows.
Okay. What about okay, I don't think we have completed enough for me to ask you anything more on
Joiner is
active.
active.
Yeah,
Does it
because
change?
it will, right? Because 25 rows will come from here, some 40 rows will come from here. It will join. Some will pass, some will not pass.
Okay.
So joiner is an active transform. Okay.
Not
So
like these two.
Expression.
Expression.
yeah, not like expression. Expression.
Just only one or two columns, like primary keys only will go out. I think, in the
Meaning?
joiner.
No, see, the point is that if the condition doesn't match, meaning if the condition doesn't match, the whole row will get dropped, right? If that condition doesn't match, the whole row is going to get dropped. So basically, if 100 rows go in, we cannot say for sure that 100 rows will come out. It will change, right? 25 from here, 30 from here, and the output could be 40. So there is no fixed number. So whatever is coming in does not necessarily go out. So till version 8, lookup was a passive transform. Till version 8, lookup was a passive transform. But with version 9, it has become an active transform. Okay, we will see some examples and we will see why lookup is an active transform. Now, the question is that why do we need to know what is a passive and what is an active transform? So the thing about passive transform is that, now let me show you something over here. You see, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to remove this department name from here and I'm going to link look at what I did. Look at your screen.
It doesn't show anything.
It doesn't?
No. That's what I'm saying, that how come you're saying that you did it, it doesn't even move anything.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Okay, now yes.
Okay, so what do you see? So let me just repeat what I did. Okay, there was this thing went here and then this thing went here. This is how it was. Okay, this is how it was. So now what I did is that I delete this, I highlight this, I delete this, and I select this and I link this to this. So what did I do? For the department ID, I bypassed the expression. What did I do? I bypassed the expression. Now we know that the expression is what? A passive transform, right? So let us say from this joiner, if let us say 100 rows entered this, what would happen? 100 rows would come out from here. So what is going to happen? 100 rows are going to go from here. How many rows are going to come out from here? No, this is not column. This is rows. Okay. See, 100 rows are coming out of the joiner transform. Okay. These 100 rows enter from here. How many rows are going to come out? 100 will come out.
100 will come.
This is also part of that same 100 row. But only this column is going directly through the router instead of going through this expression.
100.
So from here also, so between this and this, there is no transform. So definitely if 100 is coming out from here, here also 100 will go. Okay. So 100 rows from here and 100 rows from here. So the number of rows entering the router is same. You understand? So because this is a passive transform, that is the reason why it was possible to do this. But instead of this over here, if we had a filter, what that filter would have done is that it would have reduced the rows from 100 to 50.
Yeah.
But over here it would still have 100 rows. So then what? There is not an equal match. 50 rows coming out of the filter, 100 rows coming from here. So you cannot match 50 rows to 100. So that's a problem. So Informatica will not allow you to do what I did right now if there is an active transform in between. Okay. So if you have a passive transform like an expression, it will let you do what I just showed you. That is, put some parts inside the passive and some parts you can move it directly. But if you had an active transform, then you would be forced to pass all the columns through that active transform. Are you guys with me? Is this clear? Okay, so when you draw, when you code, what will happen is that many times, because we are new, you will try to do this on an active transform, and that time it will throw you a message. So that time you will understand that this is the reason why it is not allowed. Okay, so you understand what active and passive transforms are? Okay, cool. So I think that should be all for today. Tomorrow what we will do is that we will do the other, we will do the lookup.
Do you have any documents for this studio?
I have uploaded it there.
Then
Okay, I will email it to you, not a problem.
I think you read it.
Yeah, not a problem. Actually, I deleted all that today. I thought
Dropbox?
yeah, box.com. Box.com, Informatica 72 at work. Yeah, I thought everybody would, there's space problem, so I got it. Not a problem.
I didn't download the videos because it's saying, when I'm trying, I didn't get that much time. I just watched for 10 minutes, but it says one video is for 6 minutes and one video is
Yeah, the second video is the longer video. So
I thought of that one is also 5 to 6 minutes, and I am checking it. We have a lot of videos to watch.
Yeah. I'll make it available.
Why don't you do that before when it's all SQL?
Yeah, I gave it to you directly, right? So the thing is that
it's there. Even I can also watch.
yeah, that this thing is full. Yeah,
You
that.
can take out that one. I have also there.
Okay. So I will upload it there. Okay, I will do that. I will go there and I'll upload.
You copy all the SQL PDF files and videos.
Yeah, that can only.
You can take out the.
Yeah, so okay, I'll do that. I'll remove that and I will upload